Hey everyone, had a few conversations with people about sidechaining and the various ways that people are doing it. People are either sidechaining straight to a kick, or they might be using an LFO for the amplitude of the instrument that they want to have the sidechain effect. Both methods are totally valid. I just wanted to show you my method, which is to use a ghost kick. I think this gives you the most flexibility because you really have complete control over how the sidechain interacts with your instruments. So I'll just show you exactly what I'm doing. So here's my template. I've got a track here. I'm just going to quickly play you a little bit of the track. Cool. All right. So in this example, we're going to sidechain our bass line to a ghost kick. The sidechain effect on this track is not severe, so you're not going to notice a huge difference. We can always amp it up just for the example if we want to. A ghost kick is where we're going to create a kick sound, but we're not going to have it audible, but we're still going to have some level that we can sidechain against, if that makes any sense. So in Logic, what I've got is I've got a sequence, a kick sequence here on each crotchet. Don't. I use this instrument in Logic, the Klopfgeist, because it's a percussive sine wave, and you have complete control over its length, basically. So you can, it can act like a kick, basically. It's just a spike of level. That's all we need, and it can go for a particular length if you want it to. So right now it's running to bus 13 in my template, and I'll explain that in a second, but let's just listen to it on its own, just running to the stereo output. I'll just solo it. So you can set up that instrument any which way you want. These are the settings that I've got for my standard ghost kick. Now, that is not audible in the track because we're going to run that to a bus. So in my template, I run this always to bus 13, lucky number 13. Now, bus 13 runs to bus 14. Notice I'm not using the sends. Okay, in Logic, I'm just using the output. Okay, so it outputs to bus 13. Bus 13 then outputs to bus 14. So if we go into the mixer, we will see that my sidechain ghost kick outputs to bus 13. And then bus 13 is here. Bus 13 outputs to bus 14. Bus 14 outputs to the stereo output, but bus 14 is turned right down to 0. So look what happens when we hit play on this. We get a level from the Klopfgeist. It sends to bus 13 here, and we get a level on bus 13. And then bus 13 runs to bus 14, and there's no level on bus 14. So that means that we get a level on the meter on bus 13, but no audio. If I was to turn up bus 14, we will hear it. Okay? So guess what? Bus 13 is what we're going to use for our sidechain. So if I solo my sidechain instrument and my bass line, like I said, you're not going to hear a severe sidechain on this because that's just not how I've got it set. But you will see the sidechain. I've set it up on bus 13. And when it plays, you'll see the needle spike every time that sound hits. Okay, and you just adjust your compressor to the way that you want. I've got a setting that I'm happy with, and I just saved it, and I just called it perfect sidechain, and then I just tweak it for each thing. Some people might not like the way I've set up that compressor. That's fine. Do it your own way. But the point is that you've got a sidechain instrument that is triggering. You can control the length of it. So that's like how long it takes to, that's how long it'll take the needle to bounce back to some degree, depending on how you set the release of the compressor as well. But it means that it's making no sound at all. So I could bounce this out as long as I've got the baseline soloed and the sidechain channel soloed. I can bounce that out as a baseline stem if I want to, for example. And it'll still be sidechained without having to hear any kick or anything. Another advantage is that you can change the sequence of your sidechain. So in like house or any music similar to house music where there's a 4 to the floor beat, that's a great sequence. Dum, 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 each crotchet. If it was drum and bass, you might want to change it so that it was more like this. Dum, 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 dum. And by the way, I've just got that sequence looping all the way through my thing. You can even mute it for sections where you don't want the sidechain to trigger at all. Or you could have another ghost kick going and sidechain some with crotchets and others with some other interesting rhythm. If it was a pad or something and you wanted it to oscillate with the amplitude, you could use the sidechain to trigger that differently to how it triggers the bass line. But in my template, I've just got that first one set up, and I can always set up another one. But that's how I do it. Bus 13, it's easy to remember. Lucky 13 runs to bus 14, the one right next to it. 14's turned down to 0, and 13 has signal that you can sidechain to that doesn't make any sound. And everything in my template is pretty much everything other than the drums is sidechained to that bus 13. And when I bounce out the stems for a final mix down to get it all out of MIDI and just have audio tracks to play with, they'll all be pre-sidechained. I can even do a final little extra bit of sidechaining to the actual kick in my mix down if I want to. But even in the mix down, I could duplicate the kick and make that my ghost sidechain for the mix down process, so that I don't get caught up with having to use the actual kick in the mix down. And that can be really handy as well, just having that flexibility. So I hope that made sense. Yeah, give me a yell if you need any clarity. Enjoy.